Hello and welcome to another episode of The Demon's Den, your one stop for horror stories and horror history. I'm your host Hex, and in this episode we will be discussing a place near and dear to my heart, El Paso, Texas, my hometown. Now, having grown up here, I'm well aware of the stories, the legends, the cryptid creatures, and something that no one really realizes is that El Paso holds more evil energy than people realize. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, almost every school here is haunted. El Paso High School, Austin High School, Bowie, Burgess, Mesita Elementary, or, the old Mesita Elementary, all haunted and they all have stories around them. There is a gigantic cemetery here known as Concordia Cemetery. It's, I believe it's a 52-acre graveyard with gunslingers of the Old West. There's like a baby site. It also used to be the place where Richard Ramirez would go and hang out. He would perform a ritualistic and demonic sacrifices in the graveyard. Downtown. All of downtown is pretty much haunted. There's the Plaza Theater, the Abraham Chavez Theater, the Paso del Norte Hotel. Every single one of them has ghost stories around them. And having been a security guard over at the Plaza Theater for some time, and the Abraham Chavez Theater, I have some stories to tell about that place. The westside neighborhood known as Kern Place was founded by someone who was obsessed with the occult. And as recently as 2021, there has been a rise in demonic rituals, especially near the northeast side of town near Railroad. So, without further ado, let's get down to talking about this. Let's go ahead and start with the schools, particularly El Paso High School, where I went to school. Now, going to school sucks, but going to a haunted school really sucks. The bathrooms were haunted, the football field was haunted, the theater was haunted, the entirety of the 4th floor was haunted. There was a science classroom on the 4th floor that nobody wanted to go into because they saw a ghost child sitting in a chair one time. A little history about El Paso High School. It was built in 1916, and the basement was actually used as an overflow morgue for both World Wars. It was also used as a place to keep bodies during the wake of the Spanish flu outbreak, so already there is a lot of negative energy connected with this school. Back in 1985, something that put El Paso High on the scary map was the 1985 class photo. Now in this photo, there is a picture of a woman that is completely out of focus from everybody else. She's blurry, she's wearing all white, you can't see any distinctive features, she's just there. Now, the woman only appeared after development, and no one recognized her, or can even place, do I recognize her? None of the students did, none of the staff did. People were theorizing maybe it was a person that could have died during the 1985 school year, but reports show that no one actually did die. Other hauntings that I've heard about, that I've actually experienced, was in the theater in particular. I used to be a theater kid, and I also used to eat lunch in the theater alone because it was high school and I was trying to find myself like we all were. Now, I had heard a bunch of stories about the theater. I've heard about the lady in white that walks around the 2nd floor. I've also heard about the shadow man inside the sound booth. But what I heard this time was some clanking up on the catwalk way above the stage, like where the lights shine down. Now, I was eating my sandwich, I was sitting on the stage, and I heard some clanging, like clang, 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 clang. I looked up and I didn't see anything. Went back to eat my sandwich, cling, 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 what is that? So, I take out my camera. Now it's, I didn't have the best phone back then. I just had like a pay-as-you-go flip phone. So I took out this Kodak camera that I got for Christmas. It was, it kind of looked like a off-brand cheap version of those old flip video cameras. So I held that thing up, took a picture, and when I looked and kind of zoomed in on it, I can see this hazy, kind of see-through figure. And when I looked back up there, it wasn't there. Needless to say, I got out of there as fast as I could. From the basement, there were a lot of ghost stories. Now, the basement supposedly held tunnels that led all over the city of El Paso, but they've been blocked off due to risk of collapse. Going down there, I gotta say, it has to be one of the most just haunting, terrifying looking basements you could ever imagine. It looks just like the set to like Saw 4 down there, or the Saw series. And that's just El Paso High School. Next, we have Austin High School. Now, there are other haunted schools just besides El Paso High School and Austin High School, but these two really have the stories that, really got me, you know? So, my dad told me this story about Austin High School. Typical football player and cheerleader relationship. Didn't go so well. Cheerleader climbs to the very tip top of the Austin High School tower and jumps off. People report seeing her form all dressed in white falling from the tower. Some people report crying. Others report a scream that can be heard. You know, a long time ago, I'll see if I can find this video. I saw it on YouTube. I'll link it down in the description box if I can find it. There was some people who went out and took pictures of the Austin High School tower at night. And when they zoomed in on it, you can see a face just falling from the tower. It's just right there, dead center, and they just managed to catch it. It's a pretty creepy video. I'll see if I can find it. Next is UTEP, the University of Texas at El Paso. Now, this college has existed since, or probably before, El Paso High School, and it's just been expanding buildings since. I mean, it's still expanding buildings now. There's a lot of buildings that are haunted over there. Quinn Hall, the Union buildings, the literature buildings. Probably the most haunted one of all, though, is the Fox Fine Arts building. It was built back in 1974 after some weird delay, and this is a maze-looking building. Like, if the back rooms was a building, it would be this building. Now, people have said that they've heard things in the Wise Family Theater. I haven't. The only thing I can really vouch for is the basement of the Fox Fine Arts building. They hold theater classes down there, and I think a workshop class. But down there, I have heard footsteps, I have heard women crying, I've heard children laughing, and there's an elevator down there at the other side. It's at the end of a very long hall. And I've been down there, and this thing just opens, and no one comes out of it, and then it closes back up. And I swear I've heard footsteps come out of that thing after it's opened. It's not a place you want to be down alone, unless you really got some iron cojones. Another thing that El Paso is known for is its gigantic cemetery. Concordia Cemetery is a 52-acre gravesite containing over 60,000 bodies, from gunslingers of the Old West to babies that have died back then. It was also home, well, I guess a hangout, to the infamous serial killer known as Richard Ramirez, or the Night Stalker. He was known to sleep in the cemetery, as well as perform animal sacrifices right next to where the little baby graveyard is. Now, since he had been doing some dark ritualistic stuff over there, there has been some sightings from some otherworldly things that people have reported. They've seen shadow figures, they've heard crying in the distance, they've heard these messed up growls coming from just beyond, like, the tree where the baby graveyard is and where it used to do the sacrifices. There's this tree that looks like three forks kind of just sticking up in the air, and people have reported growling coming from that area. Now, if you're from El Paso or know the area, you know that there's really nothing here that could... I mean, maybe a fox, maybe a feral cat, I don't know, maybe a dog snuck its way in there, but nothing in that graveyard should sound like a wild tiger ready to bounce on you from the demonic realm. Now, even before I began working downtown, I knew it was haunted. I mean, everybody in El Paso knows that downtown is haunted. The Abraham Chavez Theater, the Convention Center, the Plaza Theater, the Paso del Norte Hotel, the Plaza Hotel, hell, even the bus depot all has some paranormal activity connected to it. Now, after I became a security guard, I knew that I did not want to work at the Plaza Theater because I had already been seeing stuff in the Plaza Theater. But lo and behold, look where they put me. So one night, it was in 2018, I was set to guard this group of actors that was doing a commercial for some Winterfest thing that was happening over there. They set me in the lobby with their computers, their cameras, their costumes, and everything, all their personal items. When all the actors exited the building to go out to the ice rink, I was set to look after their stuff. Now, the lobby area is connected to the theater. And nobody was in the theater, and nobody was in the lobby area. I was just on my phone. Now, while I was playing some Angry Birds, I heard knocking. Just 3 particular knocks. And I looked around and I didn't see anything. I ignored it and I heard 3 knocks again. I wondered, okay, I'm gonna take a look at what's going on here. Now, having already been dealing with some paranormal stuff, I knew what to do. I took my phone out immediately and I shined my flashlight and walked straight into the theater. I looked around and I didn't see anything. So I looked at my phone, the camera app was up, and when I looked through at my screen, through the camera, I saw this dot just kind of bouncing around the seating area, hopping from back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this and I looked not at my phone, but actually like where the area is, and there was no dot. I looked at my phone, and there it is. This dot then shoots across the theater, and under an exit sign, I see this mist-like thing where the light is, and I start snapping pictures, just snap, 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 snap. I walk out of the theater, and I look at the pictures that I had just taken, and I swear to God, there is a little ghost girl. It looks like a little ghost girl, wearing a dress with long hair, holding a lantern, and that little bouncing light, that was the light to the lantern. I saw that, and I did not want to finish my shift. I did, but I really didn't want to. So, I grew up in a westside neighborhood known as Kern Place. People like to make fun of the Northeast and saying, oh, that's the bad part of town, and, the west side's good. Yeah, Kern Place is the most haunted neighborhood I have almost ever heard of. Okay, so, Kern Place was founded by this guy named Peter Kern in 1886. He was enthralled in mysticism, astrology, the occult, and he was also a Freemason. Yeah, good dude so far, right? So, in 1915, he constructed this archway to welcome people into the neighborhood. This archway was embedded head to toe with mystical symbolism, we should say, but it was these totems, actual swastikas, some pagan-looking stuff. It did not look, it didn't look welcoming, we should say. So, before it was taken down in 1954 because a bunch of kids were vandalizing it, you just know that whatever that was drawing in some evil energy. There's no way that thing did not draw in evil energy. So, since it was taken down, multiple houses around the area have actually been reporting some ghost-like activity. In fact, on Galloway Street, yeah, a street named Galloway, yeah, So, on Galloway Street, people have reported hellhounds in their backyards as well as in their driveways. During some renovations of some people's houses, were finding old arrowheads and even rusted revolvers from back in the 1800s. Since unearthing these items, the unfortunate residents have been reporting some pretty scary happenings around their house or homes. Anything from shadow figures to hellhounds. As if all of that wasn't bad enough, there was an incident just 2 years ago in 2021 that happened near Railroad Street that still gives me chills. So, around 15 decapitated and gutted goats were found in the deserted areas around Railroad Street. Law enforcement insisted that it was for some kind of satanic ritual, and this story got so big that even the Satanic Temple had to come in and say, hey look, this isn't what our religion does. Whatever this is, it was something else. So the story was actually pretty damn big. Now, ever since they had cleaned up the goats and whatnot, residents and store owners around the area have been seeing and hearing things that is quite eerie. People have reported seeing things dart in and out of the bushes, within the desert. They've also reported what sounds like the sound of goats bleeding. Not bleeding, bleating, making their goat noises before being drowned out completely by the passing trains. Alright everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Demon's Den. Join us next time, where we will be discussing urban legends from this generation. Until next time, stay safe, lock your doors, and remember, if your home is actually haunted, just know, the ghost has probably seen you taking a shit. Take care.